Am I audible? আমার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছ?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, just this is a special paper. Now with the change in syllabus, actually now it has gone to third year. So this is a joint class. Now first I should mention that this subject itself is very much mathematical. Basically, condition monitoring is application of all the technologies available. Now, basic theme is that there is a what's the difference between the protection and condition monitoring. Basically, we had protection. Now, protection is we install some protecting devices, and whenever there is a fault, that device will operate. Now, what happens now, we have different methodologies and different storage elements so that we can have a huge amount of data, and these particularly all these the protecting relays are also digital. So basically what they do, they collect the data from the system continuously. Now what occurs that if we can analyze the data, then it might be possible to condition monitor, or in other terms, the health monitoring of the system or the machine. Now, this course, these are the COs, that is, the university's department is going to apply for MBA. So these are the COs for the particular subject. So I should, first of all, I will deal with the rotating machine part, and I am as these actual things are very much mathematical. It involves statistics. It involves lots of different types of programmings and other things. It is not possible to cover those things in this 3 months course. So what I will do actually, just discuss what are the methods which are available and what we can obtain from them. We will not go into the mathematical details. So first thing, what I said, that what is condition monitoring. Now before that, what is the necessity of condition monitoring? Now actually, Actually, in any modern home, we have a number of motors which are used for different systems. Say even that digital clocks, the toys, the battery operated toys, any domestic applications, that is, say the mixture grinder or the vacuum cleaner, the washing machine, pumps, refrigerators, everything includes electrical motors. Air conditioning, heating system is also electrical, not motors, might not be motor. Now, uh, say the modern cars is a number of small electric motors for operating the window screen, wipers, and everything. Now, these motors are of very small rating, that is fractional kilowatt motor. Now, it is not possible, or it is not recommended for condition monitoring of these small motors, because this majority of applications of electrical machines do not require monitoring. They are quite stable and sufficiently reliable, and the lifespan of the equipment and the motor is quite comfortable. But what happens when we go for large systems, say the power systems, then large plants like steel mills or paper mills, where a number of motors are there, the main motors and the auxiliary motors, which should all operate at the coordinated state so that the process is working. Then in those cases, even a fault in a small motor, say for the power system, the generators, they will have the coolants and other thing. Any fault in any of the system, say for the cooling system, if there is a fault, the total system has to be shut down. Now, in these cases, if we can monitor the health of the system from the data we already had, because in the digital world we can store the data, that is possible, then we can predict that if anything is going wrong, that if it is there is a possibility of fault, then we can look into the matter. From that point of view, that condition monitoring came into play. Now, say for electricity, we use also freely generated in power plants. Now, the machines which are used in power plants, these are of megawatt, thousands of megawatt rating. Now, these are large machines. Even the auxiliary machines for a power plant, that can be of the order of hundreds of kilowatts. So these machines require monitoring. So this power in our power plant, still now largely it is fossil fuel and nuclear energy that involves their transportation. There are certain auxiliary machines. Say for a thermal power plant, is transportation for the raw material, that is from the water pumps, then the coal handling system, then the boilers. Everywhere we have electrical devices, and if any of the motors fail, then there should be a shutdown. Now that has to be avoided. Now, say for steel mills, large steel plants, then water and waste systems, that is for large metropolitans, we had water supply system, we have waste management system, then we have storm water management system. This all there, all in all system there will be a large number of electrical motors involved, which are of large power rating. It is also required for this chemical and pharmaceutical industries. Here we go for this condition monitoring. Then these things are just what I've told. Now, typical electrical machines, they used in some of all of the following schemes. That is, all large motors are provided with protection systems. So, a typical machines have, these are the common protection system they have. That is the earth fall protection, overcurrent protection, differential current protection, under and over voltage protection, negative phase sequence protection, field failure protection, then reverse power protection, overspeed protection, excessive vibration protection, thermal overload protection. Now, depending on the importance of the device and depending on what type of fault it might be there in the system, so it might there might be all the protections or a few of them. Now, say for when this conditioning monitoring was not there, when the systems were maintained by trained professional only, then even then basically what they do, if the person who is maintaining is very who has very who are very much experienced, they can sense the vibration and sense the temperature of the surface. From there they can sense that there's something is going wrong. Say every machine there will be some vibration, there will, and vibration creates noise, and a normal running machine has certain uh, noise, and if there is some sort of fault and something, the vibration changes, so noise changes. The trained personnel which were who are trained, normally they have the sense, they can sense the change in noise, and they can check what sort of and from the difference in noise also they can differentiate, preempt what sort of fault it is developing. Now basically what now we do, basically that same thing is done by the monitoring system itself. So in the we have vibration monitoring system where vibration uh, of the machines are analyzed, and from that it is try to predict what is wrong, or whether the system is healthy or not. Similarly, this thermal protection is also very important, because we know if every machine will have machines have losses, and these losses manifest itself as heat. So in normal process, every machine will be heated when it is running. Now, depending on the insulation class, depending on its enclosure, depending on the design, there is a normal temperature rise. But if the temperature, there is any fault or anything, there is some sort of a fault, then the temperature of a particular part will increase more. So if we in thermal protection also, if these temperatures are monitored, and that from that values it can be uh, just predicted whether the machine might develop any fault in the future, in near future or not. So then there is a current signature analysis. That is basically what we have, the machine draws current, and it say for a motor, then it converts electrical power to mechanical. Now the current, the form of the waveform, now most of the machines are fed from power electronic devices, so a healthy system will have certain waveforms. Now if there are some sort of fault and other things, the current signature, that current transient current waveforms, that itself changes. Actually, so that there is current signature analysis. So these things are done for condition monitoring. Obviously, this is very mathematical, so it basically requires a lots of statistical calculations and other things. So we won't go into the mathematics. So by condition monitoring, we mean that the continuous evaluation of the health of the plant and equipment throughout its serviceable life. So it can be called as health monitoring also. Condition monitoring and protection are closely related functions. Basically, you see that the protective relays, digital relays, whatever data they collect for conditioning monitoring, most of the time those data are used. But there is a certain difference because protection only activates itself when there is a fault, but conditioning monitoring is to predict the fault in future. The approach to the implementation of each is, however, different. The advantages that accrue due to monitoring are entirely different to those to be expected from protection. Monitoring should be designed to preempt faults, whereas protection is essentially retroactive. That is what I told you. Whenever faults, then the protection system acts. The circuit breaker only will act whenever there is a fault. Otherwise, it won't. But a condition monitoring system should act, or it should give some signals to the operators if there is a possibility of fault. It is preempt. It should preempt the it should predict the fault actually. So condition monitoring can in many cases be extended to provide primary protection, but its real function must always be to attempt to recognize the development of fault at an early stage. Such advanced warning is desirable since it allows maintenance staff greater freedom to schedule the outage in the most convenient manner, resulting in lower downtime and lower cost of the spares. Because once one has chosen to embark upon the program of monitoring, what form should it take? Should it should be monitoring the intermittent in nature? It should be at regular fixed time intervals, or whether it should be continuous. If one employs a fixed time interval maintenance program, when is it necessary to monitor at all? Then is it because before monitoring was there, obviously the plants always have maintenance schedules. That is, there are different programs, say for different types of, one can be done for smaller plant. Normally they do not have regular monitoring, but what they had, whenever fall, they will the maintenance staff will act. That can be applied for very small plants, but not larger one. Say for our consider our railway system. This is a vast system. Here they use, they have regular maintenance. Even nowadays you will see the notice in the comes in the newspaper, such and such lines will be closed for maintenance. So that is a regular process. So they always check the lines regularly at regular intervals. So what should be the methods? That depends, obviously depend on the plant and the importance of the system. So one is that intermittent or regular maintenance at regular intervals. Now, if it should be seen that whether some plant employs a fixed time interval maintenance program, then whether it is necessary to monitor at all. Obviously, in these cases, the financial burden comes. It is seen by the plant whether which one is financially more viable for the application. Now, monitoring can generate large quantities of data. How can this information be used to minimize future expenditure? Finally, and perhaps most important, how much need to be needs, how much needs to be spent on monitoring in order to make it truly effective. So that for a motor which is quite stable and which is there is a very less probability of developing in a fault in it, there is no point of having a costly elaborate condition monitoring system for that. So that depend on the application and type of the machine which we have to maintain or monitor. Now, as I told that there are three different course of action. One is breakdown maintenance, that what I told in method one demands no more than run it until it breaks, then replace it strategy. That is, whenever this is always followed by small uh, factories, that whenever it breaks down, then replace it or uh, maintain it. Otherwise, they won't go for any maintenance or other thing other than lubrication and other minor thing. Then second one is fixed time interval or plant maintenance. While method 2 may or may not include a degree of monitoring to aid the planning of machinery outages. Now, this fixed time interval, is, as I told, one of the example is our railway system. It is running for now almost for 100 years, but obviously now for newer machines, newer traction motors, those are coming with some sort of monitoring devices. But before that, it was running based on that fixed interval planned maintenance. And the last one is the condition-based maintenance. The final scenario method requires a definite commitment to monitoring. Here, the data are monitored, and depending on the data, it is decided whether they should have a maintenance for a particular particular motor or not. And in that case, what they can do, they can schedule it according to their convenience. That is also done in the second case. Normally done in not done in weekdays, normally done in the weekends and some other time when the number of trains are less on that particular line and so on. Then there are great incentive to maintain plant more efficiently, particularly when it is estimated that approximately 70% of the maintenance work carried out by companies that use no planning at all may be classified as emergency work and must be done at premium cost. That is, say if the company goes for breakdown maintenance, that means it is not maintaining the machines otherwise. So when it is going for maintenance only when there is a breakdown, and that is an emergency, and it has to be done whatever be the cost, whatever be the inconvenience of the system and other things. Now, it is apparent that careful thought should be given to the most appropriate form of maintenance planning. That is obvious that it depends on which plan we should use. That depends on the system itself. Breakdown maintenance can only be effective when there is a substantial amount of redundant capacity or spares are available. That is, we can go for breakdown maintenance, that is, let it run. When it breaks down, then it will see. That means you should have that spare available. That is it, so that it can be replaced instantaneously at this minimum time. And this is also possible if that single breakdown of a small motor does not cause the failure of the complete system itself. Many sectors of industry, and particularly the electricity, water, and gas utilities, and the railways have adopted maintenance planning based on replacement and overhaul at fixed time periods so that outage work can be scheduled and diversions and loads can be planned. Such scheduling is usually planned on the basis of the plant monitoring, which is typically done on a discontinuous basis. An average reduction figure of 60% of the total maintenance burden may be considered reasonable, but such a maintenance policy makes heavy demand upon spares and skilled manpower. Only about 10% of the component replaced during a regular interval maintenance outage actually needs to be replaced. And it 90% of what is replaced need not be replaced at all. That is, say, these are all emergency services that electricity, water, and gas utilities. Gas, we do not have the pipeline gases in our country, but in many countries they have pipeline gases. Then our railway system, these are all emergency services. They can you cannot stop this service as a whole. So it is they have a fixed maintenance schedule. So depending on that schedule is monitored continuously, and depending on that schedule, that maintenance schedule is made. So they should have a large number of skilled manpower so that regularly they can attend that uh, maintenance, and that is why that electricity power authority and the railways appoint so many engineers and degree engineers and diploma holders, that shows that is because they should be always prepared to attend the system at an emergency basis. Now, what happens, say for railways and other things, they always, some components are replaced for safety. Now, it has been seen by analysis of the data that all these component might not have developed any fault. It could have run for a few more days or months. So if it was possible to predict the health of that components depending on some data, then it should have the system that can that maintenance should be less costly. So we can conclude that the continuous condition monitoring of certain critical items of plant can lead to significant benefits. That is, greater plant efficiency, reduced capitalized losses due to breakdown, reduced replacement costs, give information relevant to both the operational and maintenance functions. Better maintenance gives better safety, allows the operator to build up a database that can be used for trend analysis so that future improvement can be made in the scheduling of maintenance. Now, the last one that is very important. Now, this is possible to have that database now because we can have that storage systems. But even before that, when that manual maintenance were made, they used to have log books and other things where they used to keep records of some sort, which would be very much useful for the person who is coming for the next shift on other things. Now, so basically, uh, condition monitor now. So from here you can see that this for this monitoring purpose, what we have large number of data, so that has to be handled. So obviously that data is analyzed by some statistical means by using certain softwares and other things. So as what I have told that we won't go to the mathematics, we will only deal with the methods which are available. So condition monitoring is an area of technology that is extremely wide-ranging, requiring knowledge of the construction and performance of the machine to be monitored, the way they fail in service, the analysis of electrical, magnetic, vibration, and chemical signals, the science of microprocessor-based instrumentation, design of microprocessor-based instrumentation, the process of these signals and their presentation in comprehensive way. So this will include whatever you have studied in machines, then in power system, that is the protection part, then the field and circuit analysis, that is portion of electrical and magnetic circuit analysis, then vibration and chemical signals are also there because different types of faults, say for chemical analysis very relevant is that for transformers you have that dissolved gas analysis and other things. So design of obviously we want the data, so it requires digital microprocessor based instrumentation, DSP, everything is integral. Unless you have all this, we cannot have condition monitoring, so that we can process the signals in a useful way. So we'll start with the actual thing in the next class. So basically, condition monitoring, uh, main things you can heard about nowadays will be there is for electrical motors, there is the current signature analysis, there is vibration analysis, there is temperature monitoring. These are the main methods on which that work is going on. Say for current signature, that is if when the machine is running, the steady state current waveform, actually it is a repetitive waveform and it does not contain much information. But the transient waveform contains information which is required for which is useful. Say for a simple way, if we can think in this way, that is all electric machines will represent by some sort of equivalence circuit, say for induction motor or DC machine or synchronous motor. So basically what we have, we model the machine based on some inductance, resistance, magnetizing reactance, etc. So that if we solve the circuit, approximately we will have the performance of the motor we can derive from it. So the opposite should also be true. That is, we are measuring the performance data. So when we solve the equivalence circuit, we have the input voltage and the parameters. So from there we can get the current. So why not, when we have the current data, voltage data, why cannot be possible to recalculate in the reverse order so that we can uh, uh, derive the parameters of the equivalent circuit? Is it possible? It is possible if we have the transient data, because from the steady state data, actually the steady data is repetitive in nature. So it does not contain the information required. But that if you go through the net, you will see there are several papers, but they have calculated the equivalence circuit parameters, operating parameters from the data available. That is the measured data. But what is required is the transient value. That is the first few cycles in startup starting. Or similarly, if there is a fault, if there is a transient, all those transient data contain lots of informations. So that that data measurement, then DSP, that interface, with the microprocessor, everything is important. So unless we have all this included, we cannot have condition monitoring. So some part of it you have studied in other papers, say for machine analysis, then the protection, then DSP and microprocessor, everything that portion you have studied. But once you get the data, how to analyze that mainly involves statistical calculations, statistical estimations. So that also might in statistics and probability you have some of the basic methods you have studied. Those things have to be applied to analyze this data. So this condition monitoring is highly mathematical subject. So we, as I've told, we will not go for the mathematics, but just the methods are available. So different course of maintenance actions. These we have seen that we have basically three types. That is breakdown maintenance, plant maintenance, and condition-based maintenance. Now, first, as I will go for the rotating machine. So, what are the type of faults? What are the type of faults it develops, which has to be monitored? Now, analyzing the data from different surveys, while these surveys are not necessarily complementary, they are complementary. They are substantial to show a consistent aspect of failure areas in descending order of importance. This is statistically done. Uh, all the type of failures that is analyzed, and the statistics shows that most rotating machine, the most number of failures will be in the bearing system. Then it will be stator related, and then rotor related. The importance of failure is affected by the size, voltage rating, and the type of machine under consideration. Obviously, an induction motor, the fault developed in an induction motor and the fault developed in a synchronous motor will not be of the same type. In particular, the relative weighing of stator to rotor winding failure does not depend upon the type and size of machine under consideration. To determine the type of equipment and frequency of monitoring, some consideration must be given to whether the cost of implementing such program is justified. That what I told, that it monitoring system for a small machine, which is, let's say, for your machines used with the air conditioner, because it is you can just see that see around that air conditioner and the machine, the lifespan are almost same, and it runs quite satisfactorily without monitoring. And in that case, breakdown maintenance is the most suitable method, because otherwise it is that cost does not you cannot justify the cost. So the factor involved in decisions are replacement or repair cost of the equipment to be monitored, criticality of the plant to save and reliable operation, long-term feature of the facility in which the equipment is installed. Now, assuming the consideration of these points indicates that expenditure is justified, the following points will aid in determining how the condition monitoring program should be implemented. That is, we should know the design of the system, the manufacturing process should be known, installation, what is the installation method and cost, then operation, and then maintenance. All these methods has to be known for the say mechanical. Now An electrical machine is made up of different uh, materials are there. There are different parts are made up of different materials. So these materials have different elastic modulus. Then they have different tensile strength. Let's say what are the main materials we have in electrical machines. Say that steel. Depending on that, we can have high tensile steel, structural steel, or electrical steel used for the machines. They have different these mechanical properties of these materials differs. Then obviously for the conductor we will have copper or aluminum. So they also have different modulus of electricity and tensile strength. Then the main important thing is the insulation. This insulation depending on what sort of insulation we are using. So whether it is a epoxy mica glass composite or organic insulations, its elastic modulus and tensile strength will vary over wide range. Now, so when developing the conditioning monitoring system, these mechanical properties, electrical properties of all the materials used in the machine should be known. The transfer of energy inevitably involves the dissipation of heat. That is, that I have told that whenever the machine is running, there will be losses and it manifests itself as heat. Basically, this heating actually determines the rating or size of the machine. So, the main losses, as you all know, that this is the ohmic loss, which is variable, and the eddy current hysteresis loss in the magnetic circuit. If voltage frequency is constant, it will be more or less constant. Besides that, in rotating machine, there will be some other losses, mechanical losses, that is windage, bearing friction losses, which are negligible, the magnitude compared to the other two. The performance of the insulation material that keep these circuits apart is highly dependent upon temperature and also the vibration. That insulations are very sensitive to temperature and vibration. So depending upon temperature and deteriorates rapidly at high temperature. Materials that can sustain this higher temperature become progressively more expensive. That is, if we have to design the system so that it can withstand high temperature, then we should go for the higher grade of insulation, which is much more expensive. But what happens as this insulation property increases, the mechanical property often become worse than the lower temperature material. That is, the insulations. We know that we have insulation grades. So the insulations which can withstand lower temperature, the mechanical properties what I have described earlier, those are better for those materials. So if we have to design the machine for higher temperature, so we have to go for higher grade of insulation, which are expensive. With the but additionally, what will happen? They will have their mechanical properties worsen. So this is the insulation grades normal what we have. Temperature capability, that is this O is just basic insulation. These are natural fiber materials, cotton, silk, paper, wood, without impregnation. Those are all insulation materials. They can withstand that up to 90 degrees centigrade. Then we have A, natural fiber materials like cotton, silk, paper wood which are impregnated, coated or immersed in dielectric liquids such as oil. That is, these are dry cotton, silk or paper are O grade. Then if they are impregnated with insulating oil, then it will be grade A. So then the temperature withstand capability increases to 105 degree. Now, then we have E, synthetic resin impregnated or enameled wire not containing fibrous materials such as cotton, steel, or silk or paper, but including phenolics, alkaloids, and leatheroids. Is will have temperature 120 degrees centigrade. Then class B is combination of mica, glass, and paper with natural organic bonding, impregnating or coating substances including shellac, bitumen, and polyester resins, different types of resins. Then the temperature becomes withstand capacity is 130 degree. Then we have class F, combination of mica, glass, film, and paper with synthetic inorganic bonding, impregnating or coating substances including epoxy and polyester resins. Temperature rise is 155 degree. Class H is combination of mica, paper, glass, and asbestos with synthetic bonding, impregnating or coating substance including epoxy, polyamide, and silicon resins. Temperature rise is 180 degree. And class C is combination of asbestos, mica, glass, porcelain, quartz, or other silicates with or without high temperature synthetic bonding, impregnating or coating substance including silicon. This can include high temperature aramid. So this it is 120 degrees centigrade. So the costing of this insulation is widely different. So what happens, say for that say simple device like transformers, if you have oil immersed transformers, and if we go for a dry type transformer, in dry type transformer we have the temperature rise is always higher, so we have to go for the highest grade, and so that insulation cost increases manifold. So size should also be increased. So actually those for same rating, a dry type transformer will be much costlier than the oil immersed transformer. Considering that oil immersed transformer has a separate tank, that oils and everything. So this insulation is very important, and as I've told that when we go for higher insulation temperature grade, then the mechanical properties deteriorate. So for condition of the, and this in the insulations, when subjected to higher temperature, they deteriorate. And another thing which affect insulation is vibration. So particularly for the rotating part, the rotor windings, that insulating is a problem because it is always subjected to vibration. The same insulation which can insulate the static stator winding to a high temperature, it can withstand lower temperature for the rotor winding. So all this has to be considered during design. Now say why this thermal thing is important. Say for just example, is that for example, say that we have a large turbine generator with so this turbine generator will have losses. Now these losses is say losses is of the order of 12 megawatt. Now if you have the percentage is very small, but the actual magnitude of the loss is quite large. Now if the cooling obviously this turbine generators always are uh, provided with special cooling system. Now if the cooling system develops a fault and the cooling stop, the average temperature of the generator body would exceed any of the maximum permissible insulation temperature within 12 seconds. That is a data which is obtained from survey. So that besides the turbine itself, the auxiliary motors and auxiliary parts which we have for the cooling system, that is exceedingly important because it should be monitored so that there is no fault in the cooling system. If there is a fault, it should be stopped immediately. So these motors might have smaller ratings, but they are very important and they needs monitoring. The problem is uh, excavated because the losses are not evenly distributed and basic. So we know in machines there will be hotspot because losses are not evenly distributed. So hotspot will develop. And in practice, at some locations, the rise in temperature will be even faster than this. So we develop the hotspot. So cooling and its distribution becomes a vital part of the machine design. So machine is important, turbine is important for the system, and the cooling is also important because without the cooling system we cannot run the turbine. The health of an electrical machine, its failure modes and root causes are ultimately related to the material of which it is made, the mechanical and electrical stresses those materials are subjected to, and the temperature rise these um, equipments experience. So I will stop here today. We will discuss what are the type of faults different motors develop and which should be monitored and things. So is this time suitable for you? Then we can have next class on next Saturday, this 12:30. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.